Alright, so in this video we're going to be building a beach cruiser race bike with a 212cc Predator engine, as you can see right here, which you can just get at Harbor Freight. So we built this with AGK Racing. I also didn't plan to make this into a YouTube video, so the whole video is filmed vertically. I apologize for not filming it horizontal, but we're just going to roll with it. So we got a sequential clutch right here, which you can get at agkracing.com. And we also just got some basic bicycle tubes and some motorcycle grips right here. I basically built everything as budget as possible on this, so everything was as cheap as I could possibly get it. Like that brake right there was just off eBay, and everything, like I said, was just super cheap. The wheels I got, which I'll show in a second, were also just very cheap. The bike itself, as you can see here, was just off eBay for like I think 80 bucks, which is kind of the going rate in my area. So I went up and got these wheels on eBay. They're 3-spoke. Got the brake rotor from AGK also, and just bolted it up onto the wheel. Made sure I got this straight through axle, not the quick release axle. Had some help from Jixer the cat, and started getting stuff mocked up. So I had some leftover bars, put those on. Got the sprocket mocked up on the bike, and the thing was already coming together, just everything mocked up. But there's so many little things that needed to be tacked on and welded, and we started getting to work on the motor mounts and all that good stuff. So as you can see here, we had the motor mount backing plate already all mocked up. And yeah, that was kind of how everything was coming together already, as you can see right here. With these bikes, there's also just many little brackets that need to be made. With this right here is a little sprocket that needed to be drilled through the center and make a thing, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. But this right here was a brake rotor for the rear brake, and I just went ahead and made this out of a piece of sheet metal. It actually turned out pretty good. I've never made that before. And there was some laying around at AGK, so I went ahead and made this up. And it turned out pretty cool. I actually like how it turned out. Just drilled some holes in it to make it drilled and slotted rotor in it. I liked it. So that turned out good, and then it was making the rest of the motor mounts. The next one was the front motor mount, and I got that banged out pretty quick. Just went ahead, drilled up the front, and then got it tacked on right here, as you can see. And that was good to go. And then this was the rear wheel attachment, which basically is just a safety to make sure the wheel doesn't pop off while I'm riding or anything like that. Just hold it on, and just an extra safety mechanism basically. And this right here is just a front mount for the brake piston, just tacked on right there and ready to go. And the next step was to mock up the front handlebars, or just the handlebars in general, and the kill switch, the throttle, and the front brake right there are all ready to go. And next was the motor. So the sequential was on, the chains were getting mocked up with the sprockets. Grom the cat was also helping me, and also had the tensioner bracket on there welded, and the sprockets were getting mocked up with what we needed for speed ratio and all that good stuff, which was set to about 50 miles an hour. And then the pedals, and like I was saying with the rear brake, that was all being made. So yeah, that was basically it for all that good stuff, and it was on to the next steps. So now we were kind of at a stopping point for the frame of the bike. You can kind of see here how good it was looking, and I really like how this was looking. Here is Shane's bike, the owner of AGK. You kind of saw a glimpse of it there. And it was time to get into the motor. Now that I said that the frame was good, it was good to get the engine apart and get the motor build actually together. So we went ahead, got the AGK parts together, got a new crank in here, and we also got some new valve springs in here. So AGK actually does these builds for you if you do want to get these parts, and they also do a great job. So we went ahead, took these apart, and put the motor back together with these billet engine parts, and we also put on a billet flywheel, which just made this engine just basically unbeatable and just an absolute tank. And these engines are just great even stock. So we're good with that, and now it was time to get the motor mount completely welded up, painted up, now that the engine was out and we had all the brackets welded or tack welded. We could go ahead and finish weld everything, because the engine and all the brackets were made that were needed, since everything was already completed while the engine was in. There was one idea from a previous AGK build that I really liked, and that was a PVC gas tank. Now basically you just get some thick PVC tubing and glue the two ends together, drill in a piece of tap tubing for a filler tube. I went ahead and shaved the letters just because I didn't like how they looked. And yeah, so you have a filler on the top, and then you just drill in a petcock on the bottom, and you're good to go. You have a gas tank. So I went ahead and painted it a matte black, just because that's the color that I wanted to go with. I don't like using gloss black just because it shows scratches very easily. And yeah, I just like how that turned out, and that was my gas tank. I went ahead and bolted it to the back like I showed previously, and it was good to go for that. So now it was time for all the finish welding and painting, so let's get to that. Alright, so there it is, all finished up and painted in black, all finished welded and ready to go. So now it was time for welding up and finishing the intake and exhaust. So I went ahead and did some bending. I got some nice tubing and bent it to the correct degree that I wanted for the intake and the exhaust. First I did the intake. You can see here I wanted to do it forward facing. On some of the other bikes you can kind of just do it however you wanted, but I wanted it kind of out of the way of my leg, and it also with a forward facing it would just breathe better. So I went ahead and did that, and then I also did the exhaust, which I just bent straight downward to get it away from my leg. And that's how it looked right there. So now it was time to powder coat them. So I did these both a black chrome, and they turned out pretty well. You can't really see how they look here, but we'll go ahead and throw them in the oven, and you'll see what these look like in 1 second right here. So these are what they look like. They look pretty dang good. I like that color. And after that, they were good to go. I also did the wheel lock-ins, a gold, so that was all good to go there. And we're basically all finished up.